Hi, good morning, everyone. This is Mayur Parwekar from DJ Samvi College. We're starting off today with the second lesson in Tableau, which is a certain amount of advanced visualizations that we would be seeing in today. All right. So the first set of visualizations that we saw was basically how to create bar charts and how do you connect to your database and how do you present that on a simple dashboard. All right. Now, in this particular lecture, as opposed to the first lecture, you'd see a certain amount of advancements in the visualization, which means your first set of visualization, as I said in the last lecture, is always supposed to be a holistic overview, right? So, which means you would want to show what's happening at a global scale, and then you would want to drill it down to the analytics, right? So as of right now, what you can see is currently a chart or a visualization which actually shows you what's happening on the profit and sales of a particular superstore in the region of US. So right now, if you just have a look at the particular visualizations, you'll come to know how I'm going from a holistic overview to a granular depth. All right. So if you look at the particular first pane, what we can see at this particular point is okay, there is a certain set of circles which actually is indicating that okay, the size of the circle is actually indicating that the smallest dot indicates the lowest sales and the highest circle indicates the highest sales, right? So this is a visual representation that is telling us that okay, if I have to look at the biggest, who's giving me my biggest numbers, and I just want to see an overview, I can see that possibly, California is doing good business, New York's doing good business, Washington is somewhat doing good business. At the same time, if you can realize that along with the sales, all right, so the sales is indicated by the size, whereas the profit is being indicated by the gradient in the color from dark orange to dark blue, where the dark blue basically represents the highest profit and the dark side of orange is actually representing the highest amount of losses, right? So from this overview itself, I could say that okay, California and New York would possibly be doing good sales and good profits. Texas is doing currently a bit bad on the profits. St. Louis, Pennsylvania, all of these are immediate visual cues that okay, these are the guys who are making losses for me, right? So the first possible thing would be to always understand how to give a visual cue to your client. Okay. The next thing, if you see this particular visualization, which is the analytics pane. Now, as opposed to the prior bar chart that you all had seen in the first lecture, you can see that a certain amount of visualization cues have been added to it, which means in the first graph you would seen that possibly, I just had a monochrome color which was just blue and I was sorting it from the highest to lowest, lowest to highest, but there were no visual cues as to who's making profits, who's making sales from that particular bar chart in a visual indicator, right? So I had numerical indicators like this. At the same time, if you see over here, a certain amount of reference has been added which is called as the reference line, right? So I can see that in this whole particular pane, what kind of average sales or average profit am I looking at, depending on what you've drawn the average reference line on. All right. So if you see that as opposed to the first one, I've definitely increased the advancement in the kind of analysis that we are doing for this particular visualization. All right. So this is again the sales and profit of that same superstore, except now that you've got visual bar indicators with profit loss as well as reference lines to indicate a better grasp of the particular overview, right? The third particular graph that we would be drawing today is, if you can have a look at this particular thing, this is also the analytics pane that we did in the first visualization. However, now even in these numbers, so as we go into granular, which means that as we go from a geographical coverage to an entire overview of our categories to how each particular state is performing, we understand the fact that over here, as my visual cues can provide, I can understand that okay, which are the ones that are making losses, which are the ones that are making profits, and I can always sort it on whichever way I require. So if I wanted to sort it by the highest number of losses, so you can see that over here I can understand that, you know based on which category is doing good profits, good sales, I could sort them out directly. All right. So if everyone realizes that now I'm providing a visual cue to all the charts that I did prior. All right. And then I'm going to have a visual presentation, which is basically dashboarding of that sheets that we've created, such that when I filter to a particular region, it should actually show me the details of just that particular region. All right. So as of right now, if I say that I want only California, nothing's happening, right? So what I would require is some sort of a filter on that particular thing. Okay. And the other things graying out. So that is what we'll be looking at when we'll be designing this dashboard. Okay. So now that you've got an idea, let us see how to create this particular thing. Now, in order to make this sheet, okay, so in order to make this particular sheet, what I have done is I've basically used from the data source, the TDS data source, sample superstore. All right, so you can use the same samples to superstore to use that, or from the Tableau database, you can use the create a hierarchy worksheet. Okay, so you can choose that, and you could use this particular way of making it. Okay, now if everyone realizes in my next lecture, if all of you all can see, in my next lecture I'll be talking about how do you create all these folders, how do you create hierarchies, how do you create these groups. All right, so our next lecture is going to be more after how do you prep your data. All right, so in this particular thing, once we understand that okay, there are different ways of doing the visualization, then we are going to go into how do you prep your basic data. All right. Okay, so let's have a look. I'm going to be creating the first sheet, which is nothing but this particular sheet, okay, which is the sales and profit of a particular superstore in a particular region. In this case, let's assume America. All right, so let's have a look. Okay, so I've opened up a new sheet, which is sheet 4. Okay, and I can see that over here, what I require is, first of all, the geographical location that I'm going to be working in, right? So if you see over here, I have the dimension called as location. All right, so if everyone remembers that all of these are qualitative measures called as dimensions, and all these numerical data is nothing but measures, right? So as of right now, because I require the geo-coded locations, if everyone can see that country, state, city, postal code, all of these have a geo tag to it. All right, so what I'm going to do is take the location and drag and drop it over here. Okay, just drag and drop it, and you should see the Tableau automatically populates this and aggregates this to United States. Okay, why aggregates it? Because if you see that this is a hierarchy, which means if all you have to do is, can you see over here, the moment you pushed US over here, on the marks card you got a tab over here for your country, right? Now all you need to do is, if you have to look at states wise, okay, all you need to do is just click on this plus and you should see all the states. Okay, now if everyone can see, this map is kind of dull in nature. At the same time, what's happening is, I'm seeing all equal sized dots, right? Because of the fact that I've not added sales or profit data or anything to it. It's just the states, and that's why all of them are equal in size. All right, now first of all, let's figure out how to change the map so that it looks much more pleasant in nature. Okay, so if you see over here, I've got something called as a map. I'm going to click on that, and I'm going to go to background maps. All right, in background maps, you have all of these particular options. I like the street options much better because it's a bit more vibrant in nature. Okay, now can you see that this is the map that has been generated? Okay, now what we need is two particular things. I want to chart out the sales and I want to chart out the profits, and both of these should be seen on my map, right? So if everyone can see over here, I have the sales, okay, I have the profit over here, and if everyone can realize, so everyone realize that this hash with an equal to indicates that this is not a field that was present in your data sheet or your Excel sheet, but this is a calculated field. All right, so everyone remember that this equal to hash indicates that this has been a calculated field that has been created. Okay, so let us assume that right now I just want the sales and profit data. So I'm going to take sales, okay, and I want that to be represented by the size of the circle. So what I'm going to do is take sales and push it onto size. Okay, The moment I do that, can you see that the size of each of these has changed? And now it shows that, okay, $920 is the least one and 457, 688 is the highest one, which is California. All right. So if you see over here, 457, 688 is the highest, and that's what is being represented over here. Right. So the size is now being indicated. Now I want to show the profit. All right. So now I have already used the size for sales. What I'm going to do is I'm going to use a color code rather for profit. So what I'm going to do is take the profit and drop it onto color. Okay. So the moment I drop it onto color, if everyone realizes that over here, I've got now Pennsylvania in orange, Ohio in orange, Illinois in orange, Texas in orange, Colorado in all orange, which means that these guys are making losses. All right. Whereas dark blue is representing that, okay, at least the profit and the sales seem to look good in these regions. Right. So you want to do a part wise, East Coast analysis or West Coast analysis or what's happening in the center. This is where you can segregate the regions also. So you've already learned how to use filters in the first particular session. You can actually use East Coast, West Coast filters to actually drill down your data. All right. So right now I can still feel that, okay, I can visually improve this particular thing. So what I'll be doing is just go to color. Okay. Edit colors. And instead of the automatic scheme, what you can do is, so that it is color blind friendly, I would want you to use a scheme which is called as the orange blue diverging. All right. So apply it and you would have these particular colors. Okay. Now, if you want to make it a bit more sharper, what would you do? Give that a border. Okay. So the moment you give it a border, it will stand out. And what you can do is also give it a contrasting halo. All right. Now, if you see, the moment I give it a halo, what's going to happen is that now it stands out that, okay, now, you won't miss out on any particular cities or states. All right. So this is basically our first visualization cue that tells us that, okay, this is the sales, this is the profit. And remember that when you have these in the marks card, I already told you that once this is over here, you can do a lot of calculations over here, which means that the default aggregation over here is sum of profit and sum of sales. You can change it to something like this. So if you see over here from measure, you can change it to average, median, count, minimum, maximum, right? So if you want to know the average sales and average profit, right, you can just go to average, and both of them you could change it to average. Right. Similarly, if you want a quick table calculation, all right, so we'll be doing all of these later. But if you realize that you can do all of these quick table calculations to show, let's say, you want the rank in which each of these states is doing, you can click on the rank and you should be able to see that, okay, which one is the highest, which one is lowest, and all of those particulars. All right. So as of right now, we don't want it, but that's there at our disposal with sum of profit and sum of sales, that this is something that we could do to change the attributes that are associated with the current aggregation. All right, let's have a look at this. Let's have a look at the second sheet, which is nothing but the analytics. Okay, now when I'm looking at the analytics per se, what I want is that this particular sheet be in such a way that I am looking at what kind of analytics. I'm looking at the category and subcategory. All right. So for the particular region, which is United States in this particular case, if everyone realizes, what I'm looking for is what exactly is my superstore doing in the categories that I am working with. All right. So let's have a look at how we could use this particular thing. All right. So if everyone can see, I am looking at sales and profit. Okay, on the basis of what, a certain particular category or certain particular subcategory. And with that, remember that I can also constrain it to particular regions that I want to work in. All right. So let's have a look at that particular sheet. So I'm adding, so this, I'm just going to rename the sheet as test one. All right. So that so you can change this, of course. I'm just, because I already have the references, I'm just showing it to you how you can create these. All right. So I'm just going to put this as test two. All right. So now your test two basically corresponds to your analytics, which is what we require over here. Okay. So how do I form this particular thing? Okay. Now when I go over here to test 2, okay, I need to plot the sales and profit in terms of what the categories, right? So if you see over here, I have a particular hierarchy which is telling me that, okay, look, in this particular in this particular product, you have a category and you've got a subcategory, right? So let's try to pick up this product, okay, and try to place it out over here, okay. So if you see over here, I've got three particular categories. I've got furniture, I've got office supplies, and I've got technology. All right. Now, if I want to drill down in this, right, into containing what exactly does furniture have, what exactly does office supplies have, or what exactly does technology have, all right, all you need to do is just this. This is an aggregated field, all right, which is the hierarchy set in motion. That postal code is below city, city is below state, state is below country or region, and that would possibly be above if you know you have the APAC region, you have the Latin America region. So APAC is Asia and Pacific, right? You've got the Europe, the US and Canada regions. So there could be again a hierarchy on top of that also. So if you realize over here, I'll just show you what I mean by that. Can anyone see the moment I put this? Yeah, can you see over here that this particular thing indicates east, west, south, and west, which means that if you realize that this particular thing actually represents between the hierarchy of country and state, right? So if everyone realizes, I can just push this down to something like this. So I have region over here, right? All I want to do is possibly place it in the hierarchy. So have a look, I place it over here, okay. And now if I ever have to shift this particular thing to check where exactly am I looking for, can you see over here United States? In United States, I can drill down to the regions, which is central, east, south, and west. In the region, I can drill down to the state, and in the drill down, I can drill it down to the city. All right. So this is the way the hierarchy has been built. As of right now, let us assume that I'm not looking at the regions part. I'm just looking for the country as the whole perspective, but I would rather want to drill down into what categories am I catering to. All right. So if you see over here, I'm going to drill down to the category, and in category now I see that okay, I've got a bookcase, I've got chairs, furnishings, tables. In office supplies, I've got appliances and so on. In technology, I've got so on. All right. Now remember that you could again drill this down into something further. All right. So if you have a look over here in terms of subcategory, right? So all I need to do is drill down, and you should see who are the manufacturers, right? So that is a drill down that can happen along with something like, you know, you would want a drill down of subcategory in what sense? That is this particular set of consumers, are they corporate supplies or are they personal consumers? What kind of analytics you want to run in? All right. So as of right now, I just want to see what are the sales that are happening in each of these particular things. So that's why I've just added the category and subcategory. All right. Now, how do I add the visual cues? What I'm going to do is, first of all, take the sales. All right. So what I'm going to do is take the sales and push it out on columns, and I should see that okay, all the sales in each of these particular regions now is being shown in terms of bar. All right, I've already shown you that this can be changed by using whichever way you want to, but Tableau will give you the best possible solution at this point, that this is what is the graph you should go for. All right, now coming to the fact that this is definitely an unsorted sale, right? So what am I going to do? I want to sort it from highest to lowest or lowest to highest. So I'm going to sort it using this particular parameter. Now, if you see that there are two particular things that you can sort it by, all right? First of all, which particular category is doing the best particular sale? So I'll come to this particular thing from here, but check that I've got furniture, office supplies, and technology, right? Now, have a look at when I'm sorting from here, what will happen first. So if I sort it from here, can you see that over here, the they all sorted out in the descending manner in each pane. All right. So this is pane 1, this is your pane 2, and this is your pane 3, right? But does that mean that furniture is doing better business than office supplies, or does it mean that furniture is doing better business at technology? We don't know, right? So the first thing that possibly you do is when you'd have such kind of a bar indicator, the first thing is, let's put in some value of text to understand and give it a perspective, right? The second thing is, if you want to arrange it by the category of which one is doing the highest number of sales, what you need to do is you sort it not on just this, but you sort it also on the category. All right, now if you realize that the category currently is showing A to Z, which means that it is doing an alphabetical sort, right? It's not sorting it on the basis of the sales that it is making. So if you drop it down from here and in the field, right, you choose sum of sales, immediately do you see that now technology rather came out on the top. Okay, so this is the understanding of the fact that what will happen when you sort it over here and what happens when you sort it on the category. All right, so now when I sorted it on the category, if you all realize that now this sorting has taken place on nothing but who's making the highest sales. Got it? So with respect to this, now I've covered what exactly are the sales that we are doing. Okay, now let us understand that I want to also add profits to this by using a visual cue. Okay, so what do? I take profit. So you remember that you can take profit ratio, you can take discount. All of these are measures that you could use. As of right now, let's stick with profit at this particular point. All right, so the moment I take in profit from here and I add it to color, okay, check what happens. All right, now can you see that though technology still remains as the highest profit making system, can you see that now I've been able to identify that look, in furniture table is doing really bad, right? Bookcases are also doing really bad, right? Whereas with respect to the entire technology domain, I can see that okay, I'm not just making good sales, but I'm also making good profits. All right, so barring the fact that over here machines are making the least amount of profit, but they're still making profit, right? So all of these dark bars are actually indicating that they're making a good amount of profit and in the ratio of whatsoever is your sales, right? So if you see over here, your sales is 149,528 and your profit is 55,618. All right, so that's how you can provide a visual indicator to your bar chart. All right, now over here, let's assume that you would want to add a reference line. All right, so you saw in the first particular one that there was a reference line that was added. Now you could add a reference line which shows, I want to see something between $20,000 and $40,000, or I want to see the sales above $60,000, or I want to see the 20 to 40 percentile, all right, or the first 25, the first quartile, or 25%. All of this is also possible out over here. All right, so I'm just going to show you for at this point a certain basic, which is nothing but how to add these particular reference lines. All right, so if you see over here, I just clicked on this, all right, and a blue shade appears over here. Okay, and just right click over here and you will see add a reference line, right? So click on add a reference line, and over here you can see that it is asking you, do you want a line, do you want a band, do you want a distribution, or do you want a box plot, right? So what do you mean by a line? Let's assume that you want an average reference line, right? So it's asking you whether do you want to apply it to the entire scope of the table, or do you want to apply this pane wise, right? Now if I apply this particularly to the entire table, it does not make sense for me, because all of these are separate sectors and I would want to find an average of this, average of sales or average of profit for each pane and not the entire thing, right? So you need to have a clear idea of why you're doing that analysis. All right, so let's assume that I would want at this point, I don't know what is a band that I want. So I just told you, for a simple understanding, band is nothing but 20% to 40% or 30% to 60%. Similarly, distribution would be something like, give me everything above 60% profits or everything below 40% of losses, all of these particular things. All right, we'll come to all of these things later. As of right now, just understand how I would give them a average profit or an average sales car reference. All right, so can you see over here that you've got sum of sales, And it's asking you, do you want an average or do you want a constant line? Do you want a minimum, maximum, average, medium? What do you want, right? So in this particular case, you could just have said that, give me everything above a particular value. All right, so give me something above $5,000, all the sales that have happened. Who's doing better than 5,000? Just give me a reference line for that. And that is why I selected a constant value, right? Whereas let's assume that I wanted average of it. So what would I have done? I would have taken the average as the aggregation, and it's asking you whether do you want to apply it on the sum of sales or do you want to apply it on the sum of profit. All right, so if you drop this down, can you see over here it's asking you, do you want to apply it on the profit or do you want to apply it on the sum of sales, right? Let's apply it in this particular case to the sum of sales. All right, what is it going to do? It's basically going to give you a reference line for each pane. All right, so if you see over here that this is the average that is being associated for the entire technology sector, this is the reference that is being associated for the entire furniture sector, and this is the reference value for the entire office supplies. All right, so that is how you can have a visual cue of this data, which is nothing but a bar indicator of your first holistic overview. All right, now have a look at the third thing, which is where you drill down to what you drill down specifically to the particular numbers in question. All right, so in this particular case, if everyone realizes, I'm looking at the state data and how much is each state doing in terms of profit and sales for the particular categories. All right, so I've got categories, and in the categories I've got these particular subcategories. All right, so have a look at how we can create this visual cue. Okay, so I'm creating a new sheet over here, which is called as, let's say, test 3. All right, so just naming this as test 3. Okay, now in this particular test 3, what I want is a visual analytics, right, of the drill down data, which is this particular aspect. Sorry, this particular aspect, right? So what do I see? I see a country wise profit and sales on each of the categories, right? So I'm going to check this out that, okay, I need what? I need over here, from here, can everyone see that I have got particular category, right? So if I push this category out over here, I have these furniture and office supplies and technology, but I would rather want them in such a manner that I can actually display these horizontally, because over here I'm going to get the profit and losses, right? So the first thing that I would want over here is the category. If everyone realizes, I drill this down and it would give me books, chairs, furnishings and tables. All right, so if you saw over here, I required the second segregation to be in category the furniture, office supplies and technology, right? So over here, if everyone realizes, I have bookcases, chairs, furnishing and tables, right? So I can use these directly, and what I can have is, I want this state wise, right? So if I want this state wise, let me just take the particular state in questions. All right, now if you see that I have a full scale value for each of these particulars. Okay, now all I need to do is drag and drop whatever I require. Okay, so if let's assume that I require a profit and I require a sales. Okay, so what am I going to do? Let's start off with the sales value. Okay, and I'm going to push it over here the moment it becomes a black box. I push it over here and all the sales value got populated, right? But along with this, I also want the profit to be populated. So what am I going to do? I'm going to take the profit and I'm also going to populate it next to it. Now, can you see that the sales and profit now are in this particular manner, which means they have come one below the other, but I want it in the column wise format. So all I need to do is take the major names and place it out over here, and you should see that they have shifted from the horizontal to the vertical, right? Now similarly, if you realize that if I wanted the profit ratio, all I needed to do was push it again in the black box, and now you will see profit ratio and sales. Now if you want to reorder them, what you can do is take the sales and push it over here. All right. And then you've got profit, you've got sales, you've got profit, and you've got profit ratio, right? Now, let us assume that you would want these in visual cues, right? You want these in visual cues. So what do you need to do? You need to take the profit and shift it to color, let's say. Okay. Check what will happen. The moment you move this to color, this completely becomes blindsided. All right. So which means that, I'm not able to make these visual cues, what's happening in all the regions, right? So what I can do is, rather, I can use this and check what am I doing. I am making this as square. Okay. Now, if you realize that the moment I do this square, can you see that now the visual cues are much better because I can see the graphs very clearly. Okay. Now, if I change this on the basis of, if everyone can see, I can make this as descending and check what will happen. All right. So I can increase the values in such a way, so I can put it on sales, I can sort it on the basis of profit, or I can sort all of these on the basis of profit ratio. All right. So if all of you all can see, I can sort this on the basis of whichever one that I want. So I want to sort it on the basis of sales or profit ratio. For chairs, I can do that. I want to sort it on the sales, profit, and profit ratio for the furnishings. I can do that. So I could use any particular one for sorting it, and it would give me that, okay, which one is the highest. So if everyone realizes that this indicates, dark blue indicates the highest profits, and as we go down and we move into the gray to orange category, the gray indicates that there is very least amount of profits, and dark orange indicates that there is a large amount of loss. All right. So basically you can add these visual cues. All you need to do is take the profit, move it to color, and make sure that you don't forget to change this from the automatic type to square, and you should get these visual cues. All right. Once this is done, this basically completes our analytics of how we would want it. All right. So in this particular one, if you realize that I just took the two subcategories of what furniture, office supplies, and technologies. In this one, I rather drilled it down to, in the category, what subcategories can I look for, which means can I look for books, bookcases, chairs, furnishing. So I've drilled down to a much higher level. All right. So you can always work with whichever way you want. Okay. I've showed you both the particular ways. You can drill it down on the basis of here just the profit and sales on the full category. All right. So the full category of furniture, full category of office supplies, and full category of technology, which you can do from here also, because all you will need to do is, just subtract this and you should be able to see only these three values. All right. So if everyone realizes, what I've done is I have changed it in such a manner that I could get exactly the same thing that I wanted. So if you want to drill it down, drill it down. If you want to keep it as an overview, keep it as an overview. All right. Now you want to fit it to your entire screen. All you need to do is fit width. Okay. So once this is done, your final thing is always dashboarding. All right. So dashboarding, how would you do it? We did this particular thing last time. So create a dashboard test. All right. So renaming this to dashboard test. Okay. And over here, what I'm going to do is take these three sheets. So if you realize that the number of sheets that I create, those number of sheets are basically what are going to be displayed. All right. So I'm going to take test one. All right. And if you see, my test one is my geographical chart. All right. So all I'm going to do is take it and place it over here. This areas become gray in nature. So take it and place it over here. All right. Now the second thing is this particular graph. Remember, these numbers I would not want to show it at this particular point. So I'm going to take this test 2, and if you can see, I can drop it over here, here, or at the top, or at the bottom. All right. I'm going to drop it at the bottom. All right. Now, if everyone realizes, let us assume that I don't want to show this particular thing. Okay. So I don't want to show this particular thing. All I need to do is click on this. All right. Make this as, or you can just remove from dashboard. Okay. Now this profit, I would definitely want it to be on the screen. So what I can do is, instead of this being fixed in this particular area, so if you see this area is fixed, what I can do is rather make this floating in nature. All right. So the moment you do it floating in nature, now can you see over here that I can change the location of it to somewhere over here? Sorry. I can just change the size. One second. Yeah. Yeah. So you can change it from here to here, or what you can do is, let me just show you. Yeah. So over here, you've got this floating, and I'm going to place it over here. Okay. Now you can check how you can change the profits over here. So if you want to filter over here, you can filter it also on whatever values you require. All right. So it's showing you from the least to highest. You can change over here to figure out, okay, these are the only profits that I'm looking at. All right. Now, the last particular part is, how do I reflect to the particular city or state in question? Okay. So what you do is, you go to dashboarding. All right. And in dashboarding or in analysis, all right, just a second. Yeah. In dashboarding, you can go to actions. Okay. And in actions, what you do is add an action. Okay. In this particular case, I want the first sheet to actually reflect to the second sheet. So what I'm going to do is use a filter. Okay. And what is the filter supposed to be? I'm supposed to indicate the target sheet. All right. So I'm just naming this as target sheet. So the test one sheet should actually reflect on the source sheet of dashboard test one should reflect to the test two sheet on which particular action? On the select action. All right. So all you need to do is just go to select. Okay. And press OK. Okay. And press OK again. And now check what will happen. If I click on California, it will show me only details related to California, what's happening in the California in all the three segments. All right. So if you realize all of these have grayed out. Okay. If I wanted to go for Michigan, can you see that now this value has changed? All of these values have changed. If I wanted to go to New York, all right, can you see over here that now, so which means that in this visualization, what we've done is we've actually changed the way the visualization would be presented. All right. So you can rename this definitely as something. So you can do a show dashboard title, and all you need to do is rename this as, global overview of, let's say, Superstore. Oh, sorry. So let's call this global overview of, let's say, Walmart. All right. You could center align it and possibly make this bold, and just press OK, and this is how you see it. All right. So that's how you create an advanced visualization. This could be the lesson 2 that you could start off after your first particular lesson. All right. Thank you, everyone. This is Mayur Parwekar from DJ Sangvi College.